Christy, perhaps if we take this just down another wormhole, going back to PaleoFX, if you look at the vendor booths, probably 25+ % of these vendor booths are selling exogenous ketones. What is your opinion on the exogenous ketones? And I guess maybe we can start with sort of a simple question. What is an exogenous ketone?
Okay, well, so exogenous means from outside. We have, when we say ketosis, nutritional ketosis is an endogenous process, which means it naturally occurs in the body from the breakdown of fat and the creation of ketone bodies. That is endogenous ketosis. Now, we can also kind of accelerate or hack this process by supplying ketones from the outside. So that is exogenous ketosis, and that's where exogenous ketones come into place. Now, there are a couple of, basically I would say there are two main avenues for this. We have the ketone salts, and we have the ketone esters, which just recently started appearing on the market. I guess there's only 1 or 2 companies that sell ketone esters, but let's talk about ketone salts, which are basically beta hydroxybutyrate or acetoacetate. So a ketone salt is a formulation of beta hydroxybutyrate and or acetoacetate combined with minerals like magnesium, sodium, calcium, potassium, and the like. So for a ketone salt, you have this formulation, and you have to kind of, the ratio for beta hydroxybutyrate and the salt, you have a little bit of a beta hydroxybutyrate and you need a lot of salt to kind of be able to put it in a formula. And these formulations have kind of a low impact on circulating ketones. Personally, I'd rather use an MCT oil or a C8 oil instead of using a ketone salt. Now, the newcomer in the market is the ketone ester or ketone monoester. This is kind of the real deal. So let's take the one that's currently being sold, I guess. It's called D-beta hydroxybutyrate 1,3-butane-diol. So it's kind of
it's a mouthful.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. So like I said, there is at least one merchant supplying this formulation on the market. And this is a ketone monoester. When this gets into the body, you not only get beta hydroxybutyrate from the beta hydroxybutyrate in the formula, but when butane diol is metabolized, it turns into more beta hydroxybutyrate. So there are experiments of people doing this on YouTube, experimenting with this ketone monoester, and we've seen them going from 0.3 millimolars to 5 to 6 or even 7 millimolars per liter in less than 30 minutes. So they go straight into very deep ketosis. And that's kind of a big subjective change to a brain that's not used to ketosis, for example. So I guess in terms of exogenous ketones, we're talking in terms of mental and in terms of sports performance. These are kind of this is what they are marketed for, and not directly for weight loss.
Okay, that's a very good point, and I just want to sort of talk a little bit about that, because you have a lot of people taking these products and sort of saying that they're in ketosis, or using them to define themselves as following a ketogenic diet. But I guess what's sort of the sort of medium-term impact, if you will, of taking a ketone salt or even a ketone ester. How long are you aware of, or are you aware of how long these sort of last in the body and what their sort of long-term impacts are, or is it more of a transitional phase into a more nutritional ketosis?
I haven't looked too much into ketone salts, but I know that in terms of ketone esters and ketone monoesters, which are more interesting, and I would say it is very likely that I'm going to experiment with the ketone monoester in the future. I would say that it lasts for a couple of hours, so it would be kind of really good to experiment with it. Maybe not the first time when you have a main sports event or a main mental challenging event, but try to actually see how you react to it first, and then use it in in some sort of an event. It's kind of so you take it, and in about maybe 20 to 30 minutes, you're deep into ketosis, and you probably remain quite deep into ketosis for anywhere between 2 to 4 hours, I guess. And then if you're on a normal diet and you consume carbohydrates, then you're actually gonna get out of ketosis. But if you're on a ketogenic diet, you probably remain in ketosis at your baseline level.
Okay. That's really helpful, Christy. Thank you. Now, for all of these people taking exogenous ketones and still following a sort of high carbohydrate diet, I guess, what's your opinion of this, said another way?
To be honest, I wouldn't go that route. I haven't kind of researched it a lot, but it's obvious. You don't have to be a researcher or a geek scientist to kind of know that when you do that, when you're on a higher carbohydrate diet and you consume on a frequent basis, you consume exogenous ketones to get into ketosis, you kind of get into a competition between metabolic fuels. So I wouldn't go into that. Maybe maybe a combination of carbohydrate and exogenous ketones in some sort of sports events would make sense for a person that is not keto adapted, I would say, or does not follow a ketogenic diet. But to do it on a consistent basis, I would actually want to know more about the competition because there is a competition between metabolic fuels.
Okay. Very helpful. So I guess in summation, sort of the exogenous ketone, if you will, could help you transition back into ketosis, but it's best to be sort of following the nutritional guidelines that we outlined earlier. Is that right?
Yeah, for the most part, yes.
Okay.